You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.fm network.
Here we go, guys. This is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM and also on United States.fm network. Now, this is the hour about guns. You know, I had great guests, seriously, experts, gun trainers, professionals, mercenaries, special forces, everything you can imagine, but you have no idea. Today's guest probably is my best guest when it comes down, for me, the mission of this show. As I said many times, this show is not about to preach to the choirs. It is not about me being right. It is about to learn from each other. And I tell you, there are a lot of things I can learn myself, and I learned in the last few years. Now, for me, what is the most important thing we have? All human beings. I don't care which nationality, I don't care which race, I don't care which religion. First of all, we have a right. It's called the right to be free. And also it's the right to life, to defend our life if you want to. It's up to you. I'm not telling you what to do, but I think you have that right. We have the right of self-defense, self-preservation of yourself and also of the innocence. Let's say if you have a child out there, I think every mama would like to save the life of their child. And this is a battle against good and against evil. And not just because we are here right now in this dimension, nothing changes. We have just different tools to defend each other's and ourselves from evil. So the purpose of the show, when it comes down to the second hour, I'm talking about the Second Amendment, is trying to reach out fellow Americans and fellow humans. I don't care where you're from, because at the end of the day, for me, every human being, in my opinion, should have the right. We are lucky here in America that our founding fathers fought and died for this right. But I understand many other parts of the world, like in Italy, for example, doesn't exist, but that's another story. Now, today, I had the honor and the pleasure to bring back, after exactly 1 year, one interesting lady, very nice lady that I really like. And as I said, we don't need to agree on everything, but I respect her. She's an activist, and she has a radio show. And I was on her show, she came on my show, and the last time we talked about the Second Amendment, we had a little bit of differences of opinions. But out of the blue today, I got this message and said, Luca, I got it. Or at least she will tell you exactly what happened to her. Her name is Linda Gilstrap from California. Linda, are you there?
Yes, I am, Luca. So glad to hear your voice. I just had to let you know because I thought you'd really get a bang out of it. I have really had a change of heart. And to tell you the truth, you were the first one, the first sane, really into guns person that I really ever have had such a pleasant conversation with.
Wow.
And because I always did not have a problem with guns, really. I grew up with hunting. My brothers would go out and, shoot deer. We'd have venison and pheasants and all that stuff. I grew up with guns. I understood guns had a purpose. But I really just always thought, and maybe it's because I've grown up in California, I've always thought that there are just some people that just should not have guns. And so I always thought, well, gun regulations, that's the way to keep guns away from the people that shouldn't have them. But you know what? It just doesn't work. It just does not work. I'm not the kind of person to keep beating my head against a wall. Gun regulations don't work. Period. So there's no purpose to them. There really is no purpose to them.
Wow, this is for me, Linda, if I can stop you 1 second. I tell you, I do this show sometimes. I say, why am I doing this? Seriously, I'm just a little voice after all. Who am I to go out there with my broken English sometime? And why am I doing this? But, you made all my efforts of the last almost 2 years at this point, I'm on the air, worth it. Even if I had to stop today, I say, you know what, thank you, because you gave me at least the opportunity to say, I want to reach out a fellow human being, a fellow Americans, to understand that we have one very important right that, in my opinion, is pretty much protects all the other rights. And this is the purpose of the show. And I thank you for that, to be patient with me and to listen to me last year when we talk about it. And also, more important, for you to use your brain, because I don't want out to convince people. I want just to bring facts and information, and then everybody should use their brain. That's pretty much my only little humble job. I'm here. Now, question. It doesn't make any difference, that. But we had some different political background. I don't consider myself any party. I'm an independent, but I used to be, let's say, what people used to call a Republican, and now I despise. By the way, I'm more of independent, let's say, leaning libertarian. But the bottom line, now, I forgot maybe, but what type of political spectrum can you identify? I mean, did you vote Democrats, Republicans, Independent? What are you?
I grew up traditionally. My family was Democrat. My mother was Democrat. And so when I turned 18, I registered Democrat. And stayed that way for the longest time and really thought of it as a more reasonable party. And I do understand that actually the platforms have changed over the years. The different political parties, their platforms have changed. But, it was when my older son he got close to voting age, and he was just as anxious as I was. He wanted to vote. He wanted to participate. He wanted to have a voice. And he was looking at the different things, and he was very much into reading, and he said, I'm not registering either political party. And I asked him why. I was still a registered Democrat, and he says, I just don't think that political parties are right. And he was the first one that told me George Washington refused to belong to a political party. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting.
It's true.
The founding fathers didn't believe in political parties, then why do we have them?
Yes.
And through talking to my son a lot, and my son was very, very smart, and he was a very deep thinker. In fact, when he was younger, a lot of people forgot his age and would talk to him about some of the most advanced subjects and listen to my son for an opinion, and I'm looking at him like, if you only saw his room. But because I saw him as my son. So, but as he got older, I loved talking to him. And I miss him quite a bit. So I did a lot of thinking, and I just decided, I said, you know what, I agree, because I don't like the way either political party acts. I don't really believe down the line either way. So I joined my son several years ago, and I registered non-party affiliated. I'm not even independent. I'm just no party at all.
Me too. And, me, exactly. I have no more party. People say, oh, which are you, libertarian, independent? No, I have no more party affiliation at all. That's the bottom line.
Right.
And, I'm so glad we're talking about that. It's so connected, because for me, the most important things, when we start to understand what's happening to our rights, it's part of this scam. They try to, first of all, separate us as Americans, say, okay, you are on the left, you are on the right. And then at that point, they try to put out two different agendas. By the end of the day, they are doing exactly the same. It's the biggest wrestling match. Like you do these wrestling matches, they all somehow prepare, and it's a show. It's a show. The real masters of these parties is not the American people, but it is, unfortunately, the elite. They control both parties behind. And I'm so glad. And that's part of also the agenda to disarm the people. Let's talk about the Second Amendment for a moment, because, you said something very important before. You grew up in a hunting family, people that hunt. But, I do not hunt, for example, and none of my rifles are for hunting purposes. The only thing I hunt with my rifles, they are evil people. That's it. And I'm not trying to say that I go out at night trying to look for people. No, but the purpose of my rifle is to defend my life and my liberty and my property against evil. Simple as that.
Right.
Then if I have to for survival, I may also hunt. But that's not the purpose of the Second Amendment. That's why these politicians, it is so sad, they try to brainwash us. The first thing they say, oh, that rifle with 30 rounds magazine has not sport or hunting purpose. Who said that's supposed to be for sport or hunting purpose? That's the first thing we should, communicate to each other. Because, even the criminal aspect, and by the way, that's very important, to defend the life of an innocent or your life. It is your right. It is our right. But for me, sometimes, many situations, as I said in the past, a 2x4, I don't even need to waste the ammo. It would do the job. But maybe for a woman or for a person that is an older person that has a physical disadvantage, I think it's a very equalitarian, much more for equality tool to make to give the advantage even to a weaker person to at least face a bigger aggressor. So that's important. But at the end of the day, we talked last time. We are living in New America, and we agree on that. It is no more
Yeah.
about just the Bush or the Obama. They're doing exactly the same. You remember the magic word, National Defense Authorization Act. You remember that?
Yes.
Now after that, any one of us, even just because we have a due process or a trial, just because we are suspected to be terrorists, and now terrorist, the definition is pretty big. You can be against the war. I'm against the illegal wars. Guess what? That's on the Homeland Security documents. You can be a potential terrorist. If you believe in the Constitution, do you believe in the Constitution, U.S. Constitution? Yeah. You are potential domestic terrorist. If you believe, let's say, in freedom, do you believe in freedom? Mm-hmm. That's another. Look at the different Meyer reports. So that's the point. Any one of us can do that. And now, just even a glitch on the computer, you can be kidnapped and not even face anymore the accusers, not even face anymore a judge in a trial, and indefinitely detained. And this didn't happen under Bush. Bush started with the Patriot Act. That was bad enough. This now happened under Democrat, just to show there is no difference. A Democrat president under Obama. Yeah. I mean, this is bring us back before pre-Magna Carta. Now, the king, the state in this case, can pretty much be above the law, and any one of us can disappear. So that's why I really believe the Second Amendment should be something that should unite us, all Americans. I don't care which party you are. I don't care which political spectrum. Let's first agree that we have one basic human rights of self-defense, and we are nobody's slave. So I welcome you, and I thank you very much for this. Now, let's talk. I want you to ask me questions, because I talk too much. Go ahead. Whatever you want.
Well, some of the things that really helped me change my mind was these shootings where someone came into a theater and they had the background check. See, I used to think that it was that at least do a background check. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, they fail the background check. They fail getting the permit to have the gun, and yet they still have guns available to them through relatives or illegal means. Mm-hmm. So obviously gun regulations aren't going to help any.
Yeah, you sent me a great article, by the way. Thank you. You have this article from Guns Owners of America. How did you get hold of that? That's a great organization, by the way, Gun Owners of America. How did you get hold of that article?
Yeah, Eric Pratt is going to be on the Wake Up Mission show tomorrow.
That's a beautiful guest. Right. I'm almost jealous now. I need to call him too. That's a great guest. Great. By the way, since you mentioned the show, please say the name of the show. Say also the name of your beautiful co-host. He's also a friend of mine. And where people can find the show.
It's the Wake Up Mission show, and actually people can find it by going to our website now. We're at thewakeupmissionshow.com, and you can find a link to listen to the show through there. Shalene Nightingale is our main host, and now Randy Dees is the co-host. I've sort of taken over the public relations end of things.
Okay,
and
great.
Randy Dees is on the show now.
Great. Say hi to Shalene, okay? I really follow you guys. I'm so glad. Anyway, this is important because you said exactly something very important. First of all, a criminal, he doesn't really care about the laws. There is always a gun that you can find on the black market, and always will be. So I wish, in the ideal world, I really wish that I fantasize the world there would be no evil. And the gun would be something just to put on the wall and say, you know what, look how beautiful, like you collect butterflies, I can collect metal objects called guns. But I know that there is no evil. Unfortunately, evil exists in this reality, in this dimension. And we know that evil uses physical tools to perpetrate evil. That could be tyranny, could be killing, murdering somebody, or just, doing evil. So I believe that's why we have that type of choice that we need to decide. Not everybody, out there, for example, I got my mom, okay? My mother, she hated guns. But you know why? Because unfortunately she grew up with the wrong, not even grew up. My father, okay, didn't have a very good relationship in educating my mother with guns. So my mother freaked out. And I don't blame her, You need to have a self-responsible approach to educate somebody else. Otherwise, you're going to create a trauma. Instead, then, when she came here to Arizona, spent some time with me, and as much as she, of course, I know the type of spirit. She wouldn't like to harm anybody. But I said, Mom, what if tomorrow somebody is stabbing me and I'm on the ground and I'm dying? What would you do? I do what I have to do. Okay, and that's the most important question we should, first of all, before even we own a gun, make that mental decision, moral decision, if we're willing to do that, to save a life, could be ours, our son, doesn't matter, an innocent. After we go through that process, then you can start to look for training and, of course, and find the right tool for your body. And so my mother, for example, at the beginning when she came here in Arizona, she said, oh my gosh, all these guns, I'm freaking out, oh my gosh. And then she starts to understand this is not about a tool that we show off or we use for just vanity. It's, first of all, for me, it's a tool that is a philosophical example, a symbol of freedom. Because, Linda, in history, every civilization, I don't care if the Romans, look at Julius Caesar, what he did when he conquered the Gauls, the actual French. He pretty much put everybody in front of him. There is a beautiful painting. It's very sad, by the way. I feel sorry for these tribes. But anyway, what he did, all the weapons, they were pretty much surrendered in front of Caesars. So slaves and conquered, they're always disarmed, no matter which civilization. So that's for me, the for a more important thing when I wear a gun, it is not because I'm afraid or because I'm paranoid, because I want to remind to the government that I am a free human being and I have that right, like the Romans used to have the right, but slaves, they were not allowed to have swords or weapons. That's the point. So that's what I think is so important. Now, Linda, tell me something about it. Since then, you understand all these regulations don't work. What do you think about this gun-free zone, this magic, super magic, powerful sign that just because you post it out is going to stop all evil, supposedly? What do you think about that?
I know. My 14-year-old son and I were talking about that just today. It's supposedly the latest, tragic theater killing was supposed to be a gun-free zone. Mm-hmm. But if there's no metal detectors, if there's no way, and you cannot just infringe on people and search everybody, you cannot put gun detectors on every corner. So it's pointless to say this is a gun-free zone. It really is.
Yes.
It's just pointless.
And I'm so glad.
It serves absolutely no purpose at all. And the only thing that I have come to a conclusion of is all the money that has been wasted on gun regulations and all the rest of it. I would like to see that money put back into mental health. Mm-hmm. Because mental health care in the country has really diminished. And in California, we don't even have mental health hospitals anymore. They closed them down. So you have people that don't have mental health care available to them. And even if you have health insurance, there's usually a limit on the number of times you can go talk to a therapist. I think that's where the money should be spent.
Linda.
And to get Big Pharma out of Washington, because they're pushing all these Big Pharma medications that there are warnings on them not to give them to younger people because their brains aren't even finished developing. Their brains haven't even fully grown until they're in their mid-20s. So to give these psychotropic drugs to younger and younger people is really dangerous because you are messing with their developing brains. So I think the money would be much better spent on improving mental health care, improving the practices, and in making it available to more people. So that you don't have these people that just lose it completely and walk in and start shooting people, because that's not normal. That's not normal. The other side to that is, I do think that the laws that are in place, that are already in place, I do think that they need to be strengthened as far as the consequences for using your gun. You should not be able to shoot an unarmed person. You should not be able to follow someone, as George Zimmerman did, and then claim self-defense. You should not be able to shoot into a car because their music is too loud. Your feeling threatened is not a reason to use your gun. It's a reason to warn someone. It's a reason to tell someone, I'm armed, back off. But it's not a reason to shoot someone.
Linda, let me tell you something.
That's the only part of it that I might still be at odds with.
I understand. What you say very good points. Let's start with the point number one. Number one, you said the magic word, Big Pharma. Because, you remember in the 60s, I was even here in the 50s, America, even we just learned from history or from the news, I mean, guns used to be at school. They used to be the rifle classes, okay? I mean, when never happened things like that. This mass murdering, these psychos coming out and start to kill everybody. What happened now? And there is a very, I mean, I go by statistics. I don't go by emotions. I go by facts. There is one thing in common that all these episodes, starting from Columbine, the shooting at the school, and all the way back, the Virginia attack, and all the different things happened at this, even at the Colorado theater, and they're all under some psycho drugs. And as you said before, you don't need to be a doctor, and FDA can kiss my butt because I can give my opinion without even being a doctor or medical advices. All you have to do is being able to read English and see the side effects. And when you watch these commercials, they're pretty much, they are 80% of the commercials on TV. They'll say, 5 seconds about the product, and then you got 20 seconds about the side effects that you can have a heart attack and you can get crazy, okay, pretty much, and suicidal. So that's a fact. Let's not criminalize the guns. Let's start to look at reality. We are under pretty much this mafia called and I'm not saying that every pharmaceutical company out there is bad, but let's put it this way. They control the media, and they have products that have been recalled many times, and this is part of the game. And the FDA is not looking for your interest. That's a fact. So
no, they're really not anymore, because the FDA regulations were loosened considerably back in the 80s. And that's how we ended up with aspartame and a lot of things that are on the market that they're discovering now are horrible for you.
Perfect. So
they flooded the market with a lot of this stuff, and they changed a lot of the laws as far as how many tests and trials and things that things have to go through, and that was because Big Pharma had money on Capitol Hill to make that happen.
Exactly.
And it's really dangerous. It is very, very dangerous, and they really want to just push these pills. It was interesting. I had a very, very interesting experience with my older son. Now, the reason that I'm just going to want to say one quick thing. The reason that I feel so strongly about strengthening the laws that you cannot shoot an unarmed person is because every young person that is killed, it hurts me personally. My older son was killed by a drunk driver. 3.5 years now it's been. And the pain of losing my son is just not something I ever want to ever wish on anyone. So every time I hear about a young person being killed, it hurts. It really hurts me. And okay, you can talk about Trayvon's, past. You can talk about Michael Brown's. But you know what? The person holding that gun didn't know their record, didn't know their past record. All they could have known is that that person was unarmed, and they should have had to make sure that they were unarmed. I just think that there needs to be a little, you have to look at that. And especially Zimmerman, the police told him not to follow him. He called the police and said it's a suspicious person, and they said don't follow him, and he did anyway, and then ended up shooting him.
I understand.
He should never have been able to get away with that.
Let me address that, because this is a very important topic. And by the way, there are already laws that are very specific. I'm not an attorney, as I said, I'm not a doctor, but I can read, and every state has different laws, but there is one common principle, okay? A weapon, let's say in this case a gun, and the self-defense, this lethal force, let's call it, can be used only in very specific situation. And the situation is in the defense of your life, when you are under imminent fear to lose your life of an innocent person. Any other thing is not acceptable morally and also legally. So for example, you say something very important, nobody should shoot an unarmed man or woman. I agree with you completely, but there is also a little bit of logic. Let's say you are, I don't know, 100 pounds woman, okay? Or maybe a man on a wheelchair, okay? Minding your business, and out of the blue you see that somebody's breaking into your home, and it's like 300 pounds or 200 pounds, doesn't matter, a guy unarmed. You know that the 200 pounds man, if you're an older person, he doesn't need a weapon to kill you. All he gotta do, he come to you and strangle you. All he gotta do, he get close to you, get your gun, and gonna kill you with that. So you see, there is pretty much a principle that can you articulate? Can we articulate? For example, I see a young man that is like, I don't know, a regular weight, doesn't have any type of weapon on him, no special skill, and we are the same weight, and he slap him on the face, and if I go there and trying to shoot him, that's not right. It's a logic. It's can you articulate? Now, more specifically, you say something about, the Trayvon Martin case. I wasn't there. I'm not the jury. I like to try to go through. They were, trust me, they went through a juror process. There is a law there. All I know that is called the Castle Doctrine. And I don't think that this guy did the smart thing, because as you said, I would not follow that person. I would have, why should you do that? What you got to gain? You're not even getting paid for that. I agree with that part with you. That's something I would have not done. But also let's look at, we have a law that did you break the law? That's the bottom line. Was he an idiot? Yes, I do believe he was an idiot. And probably he is an idiot. Look now what he's doing. He's still acting like an idiot, in my opinion.
Right.
But the point is, did he break the law? The point is, in that specific case, if you have an armed person that he jumps on you and is pretty much smashing your head on the ground, and you are such an idiot that you didn't see it coming, because that's the problem. He was an idiot. He thought that he was just talking to a kid. Instead, this kid, he was beating the crap out of him, okay? At that point, your life is in danger, at least in imminent danger, especially if this person was reaching for your gun. Did he put himself in the right position? No, he didn't, in my opinion. But at that point, the jury and the state law of Florida, that is called the Castle Doctrine, I believe that case, it goes back to the principle that we were talking about. Let's say, for example, you're a woman, you are in your home, and there is this young man coming to your door, breaking the door. He's unarmed, but you know that this guy has the power to pretty much, the strength to beat you up and strangle you and maybe even get your gun off your hands. Can you articulate? Don't you think that would be something that...
I agree completely. That castle law, if someone is breaking into your home or breaking into your car, you are in imminent danger. It doesn't matter whether they have a gun or not. But this wasn't the case with Zimmerman, and it wasn't the case with the guy who shot into the car. It wasn't the case. Well, Michael Brown was a different situation. It was a police officer, and he should have known better than to approach the police officer like that. But there's so many cases where the other person wasn't doing anything.
No, I agree. Listen.
Now, he was following Trayvon Martin. And that's why Trayvon Martin turned around and attacked him. He was being followed. Now, neither one of them were right. Neither one of them were right.
Listen, I agree with you. There's something wrong there.
But that castle law, to me, it's a man's home is his castle. Not you're walking down the street and you don't like the looks of somebody who's also walking down the same street, and you find them threatening and you feel threatened, or their music is loud and you feel threatened by that.
Oh, you can do that.
I just think that you have a right to remove yourself from there.
Listen, let me tell you something. The general law, for example, in every state, doesn't matter. You need to, life can be, lethal force can be used, as I said, only when you have an imminent threat to your life, or something could be used with permanent damages. Talking about somebody can pretty much do permanent damages on you. Imminent. That means if you can avoid it, you avoid it. The responsible gun owners doesn't want to get into fight because you have nothing to gain. Even when you are right, you still need to go through police, probably in front of a jury. Probably you're going to maybe have a civil lawsuit. There is no gain. The only thing you're going to have, your life. The only motivation is going to be, yes, you know what, no matter what, tonight I come back home and I have my wife or my kids, and that was worth it. But after that, this is not like a movie. This is not like something, oh great, I'm going to be a hero. There are no heroes. Now, talking about the guns in public, every state has different laws, and I agree with you. But the basic law, even when you have the Castle Doctrine, trust me, if nobody can shoot to somebody just because there is loud music. With all the Castle Doctrine laws we want, nobody can shoot somebody just because you're making noise. No way. You must justify.
That's what happened. I don't know if he was acquitted or not. I don't remember, but that's what happened with that one man. He shot into that van of kids, the car of kids, because the music was loud and he felt threatened. That was his defense. That he felt threatened.
Let's find out what happened, because I'm very curious, because I tell you, if that's the case, that's not going to fly. I don't care where you are. If you're in Alaska or Arizona, I don't care which state. That's just stupidity and criminality, in my opinion. So we already have laws with that. But now let's talk about something that I think is very important. After all this time, did you consider to find a weapon for your home defense, for your self-defense at home?
Well, my son and I have talked about that as well. My older son had wanted to get a gun. He had expressed a desire to get a gun.
Okay.
And I kind of told him, okay, just wait till you're on your own, because I didn't want it in the house. My younger son was 11, just turning. Yeah, he just turned 11 when Jeffrey was killed. He had just turned 11. And he had his friends over here a lot. And younger kids, they can just be stupid when it comes to it, and especially because my son wasn't raised in a house of guns.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to introduce that with my sons.
How old is your son?
And I thought there's no point to have a gun if it's going to have to be kept locked up all the time. There's no point to having it, because then it's not much of a protection. What are you going to do? Tell a burglar, wait a minute, I got to go get my gun, and then let me go over here and get my bullets because I have to keep them separate. It just isn't. It's not worth it.
Okay.
So I told him, just wait until you have your own place, and then it's fine. But I'm starting now that my younger son is older. He's 14. He'll be 15 in December. I'm rethinking it. A lot of times it's because I only have a little dog. I've always had big dogs, and I've had the kinds of dogs that people cross the street to avoid having to walk by.
Okay.
So, and I love dogs, and I've always had dogs. So, but I have right now is a little Lincoln-Biter. She's just the first little dog I've ever had. She's part poodle, part chihuahua, cute as a button.
By the way, it's a great dog.
But she kept someone out of my front door, though. I went out, she was barking like crazy. I went out to the living room, and my door was standing open. And she had obviously kept someone out that had opened my door and started to come in the house. So even a little dog does her some good. But in light of that, I would like to get a gun.
Good.
At some point, a handgun or something that I can handle.
Okay.
I've only shot a gun once in my life.
Let me do this, Linda. Let me talk. This is very important. We are talking about probably many people out there that are going through the same dilemma. Now, first of all, a dog, it's a great tool. It's a great companion, first of all. It's a great friend. But more important, I don't care how the dog is small or big it is, because even the smallest dog is the dog that, especially you keep in the house, is going to give you the opportunity to wake up while you're sleeping. Because, I don't care how fast you are, how accurate you are with your gun. When you're sleeping, you're always going to be sleeping, and the gun is going to be too late, to get it. So a dog is a great starting mindset to have at least an alarm system. And by the way, even biggest dogs out there, if you leave them outside, can be poisoned, can be killed. So,
yes.
The weapon, I really believe, something to consider. Now, how old is your oldest son, if I can ask you?
Well, my older son, he was the one, he was killed by a drunk driver 3.5 years ago. He would be 27 this year.
I'm sorry about that. And
yeah.
Now
he was 23 when he was 23 when he was killed.
Yeah, we talked about last time about that. It's very, I have no idea how can you feel, because I tell you, this is something that only people went through can understand. All I'm saying, now you have another son, of course, and you're looking forward. And now the other son, who's living with you at the house? Just this other son, 14 years old?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a young man. Okay, he's a young man. That's the bottom line. And he can understand. Now, what we need here is some education, some training. Because, even if you do not use the weapon, it's good to know how to respect and be safe with the weapon. Because otherwise, it's very dangerous to be around a gun. Now,
yes.
My humble opinion, I'm not here as trying to give advice. Just as a friend, I tell you what I would say to a family member as a friend, okay? First of all, more important than the gun is to find the person who can give you education and training, and more important, learning the safety, so you do not feel intimidated. You do not feel like you have some sort of an object that you think is going to start to jump out of the blue and do crazy things. It is an object. Like you learn, if you want, I'm terrible with hand tools. If you ask me, Luca, put a hole in the wall, drill a hole or nail a picture on there, I am afraid, because I didn't grow up around tools. I grew up in boarding schools and military schools, so I am not really that handyman. But I know that if I go I practice, I know how to drill a hole finally, and I had to put a nail in the wall, believe it or not. People may laugh at me, but that's who I am, okay? Same thing.
Yeah, I've had to learn to do that stuff too.
Exactly. So the same things with a gun. Now, I want to give you something that I've been giving only to few people so far, because I tell you, I really want to do this as an act of love, and I really like the fact that you took the time and to learn and to try to make up your mind about this. Did you ever heard about Frontside, Nevada?
No.
Okay, let me tell you a little bit. It's the number one firearms institute in the world, in my opinion, for volume and also quality. They have more than 30,000 students every year. It's exactly in Pahrump, Nevada. People from around the world go there to train, okay? And in my experience, in my journey as a new gun owners, I became a member about 5 or 6 years ago. And let me tell you this, I really treasure the training that I go there and I get there. It's a training that normally you get only if you go through military or through police or law enforcement, and even better in my opinion. Now, their life membership, they're not exactly affordable. At least if you go on their website, frontside.com, you can see pretty much that they can go from $5,000 a lifetime to $15,000 lifetime membership for the Diamond. So they're kind of different type of memberships. Now, what I wanted to do for you, with one condition though, and I'll tell you the condition, okay? I want to give you a lifetime membership at Frontside, okay? And this Frontside is not my sponsor. I'm paying out of my pocket because I am an ambassador. I was able to get some deals on that, but I'm paying out of my own pocket. A lifetime membership that you can attend for the rest of your life several classes, like for example, handgun, rifle, shotgun, and advanced classes, okay, for the rest of your life. And this is worth exactly one single payment of $5,000, okay? It's a legacy.
Wow.
So I want to give that to you as my gift. But I have one condition though, and this is going to be, the public is my witness, that whenever you buy your first gun, you call me back. Say, Luca, I got my gun. And I'll transfer you the membership. And when you have that gun, you will have automatically the membership, because I'll do my commitment today to give you this beautiful, no string attached. There is nothing you need to give me. It's just my gift. And you have for the rest of your life, you can go there to Pahrump, maybe bring your son. And of course, your son is not a member, but at least you can spend time together. He can stay with you. He can see you training, and he can understand even watching what you're doing. And maybe then we can take care of him eventually. But first you start, and you can be proficient, safe, and be a responsible gun owner. Something that's going to be worth the rest of your life. So do we have a deal? Can we do that?
Can I think about that?
Think about that.
It's a very generous offer. It's a very generous offer.
Okay, you
but
think
I do
about that.
I have one fear that I have to overcome.
Okay, go ahead.
And that's that, because like you brought up power tools and everything,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even used the rototiller that I bought myself to go out in my backyard. Machines, things like that, I have to conquer my fear. So let me work on that, and then I will call you back.
But let me give you
as soon as I conquer that
let
fear.
me give you my little advice. You're not going to use the gun until you go to Frontside. I don't want you to start to play around with the gun. I want you to get the gun in the box the way it is. And you go there, and they will train you, and they will tell you exactly what to do. It's like you go for your first driving lesson. You don't want to start to drive around the neighbor, by yourself. You want to have somebody with you. And that's why I think it's so important, because it's also going to make you feel more at ease and less stress. They are professional. They teach to everybody. They don't teach just to the expert. They want, especially the first class, they are like different type of classes, okay? They start with the basic entry class, for example, for handgun, and that's the 4 days or the 2 days handgun class. And that's exactly for people that they never touch a gun. And I've seen people there, for example, they were a teacher, a lady, who hated guns. After the 4th day, she couldn't wait to go back home and buy another gun. Seriously. And she was so more confident, at least to start to learn what she didn't know, to understand what you didn't know. And it's the only way I really would start to introduce a friend. And I don't care, honestly, I say Frontside because I'm a member, but I don't care where you go. If you have close to you, like a professional teacher, instructor, or a school, I say go for it. They'll I tell you that this type of opportunity is kind of really much more valuable. It's something that it's the value of the money and the program, the curriculum. I think is really worth it. So whatever you want to do, I just want you that you're gonna be a new gun owner, responsible and safe and proficient. Because remember, when we have a gun, we have incredible responsibility, more than the average person. We are accountable for every bullet that gets out of that barrel. And once the bullet is out, there is no way to take it back. So it is not just about, don't shoot your foot and don't shoot, the cat or the TV. It's also about if you have to engage an enemy, if you have to engage a bad person out there, you want to be sure that you're not getting somebody that is a bystander. How would you feel, because you didn't train and you were trying to do the right thing? Instead of hitting the bastards trying to rape you or kill you, you damage somebody else's property, or even worse, you kill an innocent. That would be terrible. So that's why it's so important to train.
Right.
That's why. Now,
that's exactly what makes me hesitate, because I am afraid of hurting myself, because I hear about people like, having accidents when they're cleaning a gun or something. And so that concerns me. I don't want my son or any of his friends that stay here with us. I mean, they come over and they stay overnight and they'll stay for a while. I don't want them getting curious. So I would have to talk to my son about this and see whether...
I'll send you the link. Because I want you to look at the school. I want you to look at their program. I look also at this membership that you have a chance to. And remember...
I want to do a little bit of pre-learning before I want to make my... because and truthfully, at some point, I would love it if I could, because I know you offered once before, if I could bring my son... and have him meet you, because I think then he would really gain some respect.
That would be great. There is if you ever come to Arizona, give me a few days ahead. I have a little private range, and we can get together, and that would be very much fun. You don't even need to bring guns. I have plenty guns, okay? So don't worry about that. Now, and this is exactly the spirit. It's like... First of all, it's a responsibility, it's a skill, it's also a heritage, And more important, when we start to do something that we do not fear, we fear the unknown. When we something that we know, we do not fear anymore. It's all just starting. Now, just for, the purpose of the show, of course, is talking about the Second Amendment. Also, I was going to talk right now about a little bit about what is the best gun for self-defense in the house, in the household. Let's start, and if you want, you can stay with me. Something you want to listen, otherwise I can let you go. This is pretty much also the purpose of the show. Talk about the philosophical aspect and also the practical aspect of the Second Amendment. Now, as I said before, I don't have a rifle, or a weapon to go hunt. You can go hunt if you want to, that's your choice. For me, it's to defend my life and liberty. And also, I believe, to defend as a man, as an American. I took an oath as a naturalized American to defend this republic against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But that's another story. Today we talk about what is the ideal gun for self-defense at the house. First of all, the best weapon, it is your brain. You know that. We are the weapon. Yes. The gun is just an extension of your arm. Because if your brain is not set up to decide when it's time to use the weapon and to have the right mindset, it's useless. It's useless. So we are the weapon. That's a fact. Number two, whatever we have, we're going to make it work. How are we going to make it work? We're training. We must training. Not just because you buy a shotgun and you put it just there close to your bed. Now I am defending. I know how to defend my house. That doesn't work. Shotgun takes a lot of training. And so an handgun. But now let's start first of all, what is the best option? Let's say if you live in an apartment or if you live in a big house. There are different options. Nothing is really 100% the best. There are different scenarios. And also for your type of body type. So for example, do you live in an apartment or in a house, if I can ask you, Linda?
I'm in a house.
House. Okay, so house, you have a little more space normally than an apartment. Now, in the house, still we live in anyway in an area, populated area. So you have, first of all, other houses close to you, correct?
Correct.
So it's not like where I live in Arizona. I have some places that I live that there is nobody for 10 minutes. So I can pretty much not worry about over-penetration. Now, the first thing would be, something that we can carry always with us and is of course the most practical tool for self-defense, not because it's the most let's say lethal or the most stopping power, but because it's the most practical. We can carry no matter where we are. It's called the handgun. So the handgun would be the first choice, at least the first thing I would think about it, because you can carry the handgun always, at least according to your state laws. Now, what is the safest place to keep your handgun in the house, in your opinion, Linda?
I would imagine the place would be in my bedroom.
Okay. Now, what if, first of all, let's say you're cooking, and unless you have dedicated special reinforced doors, with a steel frame and special windows and things like that, normally houses don't have. How long it takes for a bad person to kick that door? Probably about 2 or 3 seconds, correct?
Right.
So you think from the kitchen you're gonna jump through the table and like Batman go and get your gun and ready to go? Probably.
I understand exactly where you're going. I guess the best thing to do is to have it on me.
Perfect. And guess what? You don't need to worry about even the kids playing around, because the moment you know that the gun, the safest place it is exactly on your holster, not just in some pocket. Dedicated holster, 3 o'clock position. That means exactly if you are like right hand on your right hip, and that stays there pointing down. Nobody will touch it, and you know that it's like less than a second away to be reached. So in my humble opinion, and that's normally what I do. I live in Arizona. I can carry my gun also, of course, outside. That normally I do every day without permit. But for sure, when I come at the house, even I have a little bit extra security doors and gates, still, my gun, it's on my pants. Unless I take my pants off to take a shower, my guns, it's on me. People think, oh, you must be a paranoid. No, I am not. It's so simple. I don't need to worry about where my gun is, because on top it's very unsecure and unsafe to leave the gun on some table pointing at things. Or, even if I have no kids around, I still don't want the gun loose around the house. I put it on my pants. That's the safest place I would consider. So number one, I would consider a gun. And don't worry about the fact that, oh my God, the kids can touch my gun. No, because the moment that you walk into the house, the gun is on you. You have a little holster, and that's your gun. That's better than any dog. That is going to be like a spare tire. You hope you never need it, but if you need it, it's there. So that's number one thing, the safety. You can keep your gun on you in your house. Even in California, it's legal. So that's number one. Number 2, what type of gun we should look? Because that's a very important question, there are 2 different type of guns. And guys, many of my listeners, they are expert, they know it all, and bear with me. I'm not trying to preach to you guys. You already know all this stuff. But I'm trying to reach out, maybe many other person out there that are really considering to buy the first weapon for self-defense. So bear with me. Now, the first weapon, there are 2 different types. It's a revolver, and then there is the semi-automatic gun. Many people say, start with the revolver. And I agree, the revolver has less technical things to learn. There is not a magazine that you need to load, and you can keep it loaded forever. There are no tensions, there is no springs. At the same time, I would say out there, for people that are ready more, with a little extra training, a Glock or a gun like a Glock, a similar gun like an XD, or let's say one of these polymer that they have no safety, I would consider that would be my priority gun. Why? Because, for example, a Glock, you have, first of all, the same type of concept. There is not a safety, and you can just squeeze the trigger every time like you would squeeze the trigger with the revolver. But you have at least twice the rounds of ammunition. For example, with a revolver, let's say a little snub revolver like a 38, one of these small guns, you have 5 rounds. That normally, in a normal situation, let's say home invasion, if it's just some single scumbag try to approach you, probably you would do it. But what if you have more than one invader, home invaders? If you have maybe under stress, maybe the guy is armed too, and you need to return fire. 5 rounds can go very fast. And normally under stress, to reload, speed reload, an emergency reload, and a revolver takes a little more time and more training. So that's why I always say, in my opinion, try to train a little extra, doesn't take much. Try to get something like could be a Glock or an XD or Smith & Wesson MP, something like that. that would be very simple to operate, but you have at least double the rounds. In California, you have a limited capacity magazine. For example, in Arizona, we can carry as many rounds as we can. In California, I think it's 10 rounds. But 10 rounds is better than 5 rounds of a revolver. What do you think about that?
My nephew up in Oregon and I got into a conversation about this. I was saying that there was no reason for anyone to have these high-capacity reloading guns. And he kind of made a joke out of it, and he says, yeah, Linda, it's... I don't even remember now, but he was making a joke of, okay, if I have enough guns, it doesn't matter whether I reload or not. And so I don't know. I guess I really have gotten to the point where I just think that gun regulations don't work. So believe it or not, I think that he had a point. He was making the point that a high caliber, high capacity reload was a good idea.
First of all, high capacity, it's not something that let's look at the Constitution, okay? The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Our founding fathers didn't start to say, by the way, you can have only that arm or this arm. That's not exactly the point. The right of the people, okay, shall not be infringed. Arms, it's arms. At that time was a musket, or maybe it was one of these Kentucky rifles. That was the M16 of that time. Today we have different technology. If we understand that the purpose of the Second Amendment, it is not just to go hunt out there. There is not even close to that. It was never even close to that purpose. But it's to be the last line of defense against tyranny and evil, to defend this republic and our individual rights. You realize that the idea was that the civilian population, and the case was the militia at the time, that was pretty much the core of the people who fought against the British. The idea was to have armed population that have the same type of firepower than the government. So there was a check and balance, and no government, no evil government could ever be tyrannical. That's the bottom line. So I think, in my humble opinion, according to the way I read the Constitution and interpret the Bill of Rights, it's pretty simple. You should have any type of individual weapon. I don't want to start to hear people, you can have now what? Even atomic bomb? No, that's another story, okay? Let's not mix oranges with apples, okay? So, and more important, if the policeman, if law enforcement is a peace officer, has 70 rounds in his Glock 17, there is a reason why. Because you know very well that under stress, you need to have all the help you can to defend your life. And 5 rounds maybe is good as a backup gun, or maybe if you're a very well-trained person. But for the average person, more than ever, you should have a high-capacity magazine. So I think it's very important. So my humble opinion, for the first time you buy a gun, instead of going for the revolver, I would say go for a semi-auto like the Glock or the XD platform with no safety. This polymer, they have a highest capacity. Even if you have, for example, like a state like California, you're limited with 10 rounds magazine, still better 10 rounds than to have 5 rounds for a single revolver snob or something like that. Now, what type of model? It depends on your arm. Like a pair of shoes. When you go to buy shoes, you try your shoes, right?
Yes.
So at the same time with a gun, because everybody's a different type of body type. So I would say you should go to a store. And more important, I would go to a range with a friend who has already that gun and say, can I please try it out to see how you feel without even shooting it, just to see how it fits your hand. Now, for the average woman out there, my humble opinion, for the average body type, I'm not talking about Amazon 6'2" feet tall, okay? I'm talking average regular woman. A Glock 19 is a great compromise. It's a great size, a medium size. You can conceal it. And you can also, of course, carry with you like a main gun. So that would be my first gun. I like Glocks. I'm not endorsing Glocks because it's not my sponsor, but I still think it's a great gun. Not many parts. That never really breaks anything. And if something breaks, it's so easy to fix. And magazines, they're still very affordable. I mean, you can get a magazine for a Glock for even $10, the aftermarket magazine. So I would buy a Glock in 9mm. That's my first humble opinion. So I would gravitate around the Model 17 or Model 19. If you never heard about Glock and these numbers sound crazy to you, just write it down. and do a little research. Now,
That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm writing it down.
and why 9 millimeters? People may say, "Oh, let's get a 380." Okay, they are different calibers. Okay, first of all, 9 millimeters I like it because it's a low recoil, and it's very, very affordable. Still, you can buy a box of 50 rounds, full metal jacket for $10. That's even with the new prices. It used to be $5 before Obama. Now $10 is still very good price. Now, the fact that you want to have something that everybody in the house can shoot, that means not too much recoil. Excellent. It's the fact that you can have a caliber that you can practice a lot without breaking the bank. Excellent. Now, also the fact that you have a round full, powerful enough, especially with the hollow point, a new technology hollow point, they can pretty much compete even with the higher calibers like the 40 or 45. And I don't want to start the debate, oh, the 45 is better. I'm sure it's better at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, you must hit that target and faster. That's the bottom line. Whoever hits you faster and more accurate is going to win the fight. And the 9 millimeters now with the hollow point, you can do an incredible self-defense tool. So that's why I like the 9 millimeter. I would stay away from the 380. It's another caliber. It's like a 9 millimeter shorter. It's a smaller 9 millimeters. First of all, they're way more expensive. They cost almost the double than 9 millimeters. So stay away from that. And more important, they are less powerful. Why spend that money? So, if my humble opinion, if you're looking for a gun, go straight to a Glock Model 19. If you're a woman with average size hands, and keep it a 9 millimeter because it's the Model 19. And then you stop for a moment. And the second thing you must get is training. Even just a friend say, let's look at this gun together without ammunition. This gun is not going to jump. It's not going to do any type of mass murdering. It's going to be there sitting and you look at there and we can start to have a conversation. Let's be safe first. And once you understand that if you're safe, there are some basic rules, only if you break these rules, you're going to do something stupid. Now, Linda, I have to go. This hour went so fast. I want to say thank you. I give you 30 seconds, whatever you want to say.
I just want to just say that I have no embarrassment or anything about changing my mind. I really do appreciate the time you took a year ago I enjoy talking to you more than I've enjoyed talking to a lot of people. And I really do. I really have missed you, and I'm so glad that you invited me on the show. And if anyone wants to join our show is on from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time, and you can find us. You can go to our website at thewakeupmissionshow.com, and there's a link that'll take you to our radio show. So, and we have tomorrow, Eric Pratt is going to be on from Gun Owners America in the first hour to talk about the latest shooting, and I enjoyed reading his article quite a bit.
Perfect. Linda, I want to call you my sister in freedom, and I welcome you, and thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom.